There are other people in this race, and as the speaker pointed out, one of them is Rick Santorum, the guy who officially was certified as the winner of Iowa. A key backer of his joins me right now. I'm talking about the billionaire Foster Friess. Foster, good to have you. Your guy, he didn't put the effort into South Carolina, to be fair, that he has into other states. But is he, and should he be worried?
I don't think at all he should be very excited. You look at when people got to see him through Iowa, when he went person to person and looked people in the eye, he just absolutely clobbered that event. So it's a situation where we're bringing someone from obscurity. If you look at the Democrats in the past, they're pretty savvy. We have a tendency in the Republican Party to run these old war horses. We had Dole, and we had McCain, and now we got Newt and Mitt, real war horses. They're the veterans. And I think the Democrats, they picked Carter, came from nowhere. Clinton came from nowhere.
Well, it's not as if, but Foster, it's not as Rick Santorum came from nowhere. I mean, he's a former senator, a war horse in his own right?
Right, but on December 15th, he was nowhere. He's 5% in the polls.
I see what you mean.
So once people got to know him, here he's a 53-year-old guy, does 50 push-ups every morning. He's the grandson of a coal miner, spent his life working on a VA hospital with his mom and dad, and he's probably the first time the Republicans have ever entered into the fray, a blue-collar Republican.
There is always this pressure and momentum, and you and I were talking about the last time that everything's about momentum. As if momentum really matters this early stage when you need 1,144 delegates, and best scenario today, maybe Newt Gingrich, picks up 15 or 16 of the state's 25 delegates, so it's, I don't know, close to a three-way tie in delegates among the three. But do you think there's something to that it's all who has the head of steam here? Because we know what happens to heads of steam. But what's your sense?
Well, you look at the nice thing about Rick Santorum wins Iowa. Then we have Mitt winning New Hampshire, and now we have Newt winning South Carolina. This is going to be a wonderful thing for you guys in the media. You're going to coin a lot of bucks as these things go on. And
now, did you see our sales guys rubbing their hands together, Foster? But everybody. What do you think? You're right about that in terms of not the cynical view of our sales guys, but I wonder how differently things would have been, Foster, if we knew that night Santorum had won Iowa. Obviously, it would have meant he had the momentum. Then after New Hampshire, it was 1-1 for Mitt Romney rather than the 2-0 we thought it was. Psychologically, a big difference, no?
Yeah, I don't look at this as a momentum thing because I love Mitt Romney and I love Newt, but I must say I think a lot of Newt's surge here came not so much because people have a better understanding of his economic policies or what he's going to do as a leader of the country. His surge came basically because they loved the way he went after John King. And that really does have much to do with the policies that Rick Santorum or Mitt or Newt want to put in place. So this is going to be a long process where people get to know what are the projects and what are the ideas. And I think that's going to be an ongoing event where people will understand more about what Rick Santorum stands for.
Foster, you're also a deeply religious, charitable soul. And there was that issue that many in the party were wrestling with, I assume in South Carolina as well, that while they deeply admired Newt Gingrich on many, many levels, to the John King issue about commenting on what the speaker's former wife had to say about him, that a lot of social conservatives particularly had to wrestle with that in the state. Maybe the better part of the pragmatist in them dismissed it and said, let that be bygones. But as a religious guy yourself, should it be? Should that kind of stuff that the speaker maybe very effectively sort of swept away, be an issue? Will it be an issue? Or is the economy such a dominant theme that it trumps issues like that?
Well, first, I don't consider myself a religious person. The reason I'm excited about being a Christian is I sin more than most people, need God's grace a little bit more than everybody else. And also about this thing about being charitable, if I realize it's the Lord's money, if it's mine, you wouldn't be getting any. So I think the whole thing about the whole thing about Newt Gingrich is we live in a Christian nation. People want to deny that. Harry Truman read the Bible 5 times before becoming president and said in this great country of ours has proven the fundamental unity between Christianity and democracy. Now, that's only, 60 years ago or 70 years ago. So I think the American public has the attitude is, how do we move on? Everybody in listening to this, this cast, we've all had our Good Fridays. But in America, there's a lot of Easters, and I think that's what we want to cling on to, that we're here to be a blessing to other people, to be a channel of God's love, and I think the more we do that and figure out how do we help the people that are needing help. This is sometimes just a big power play, and it's so distressing to see that the political environment is not how do we get these people back to work with this. Rick's program is to have zero taxation, but instead it's who's going to be able to have the White House Christmas party, and that's a shame.
But if you think about it, I mean, with the Bill Clinton issue on moral and ethical matters and lapses, what have you, that was the argument he was making. Focus on the economy, the bigger things, and getting things right, and don't pay attention to this stuff.
Well, I think he's one of the more popular people in the world, and why is that? I think people have a tendency to kind of cut one another some slack. And it's only the gotcha mentality that exists in Washington, D.C.
So you think back then, Foster, was a gotcha on Bill Clinton?
Yeah, I think, what started this all, in my opinion, was the Watergate thing. Before Watergate, if you talk to some of the newscasters, they all knew that President Roosevelt and Kennedy had these little goings-ons, but they went out of their way to avoid it. In fact, they made a point that they never let Roosevelt be shown in a wheelchair. So I think once the Watergate thing happened, and now journalism is one who can kind of play the gotcha game. And so there used to be a wonderful thing in Corinthians. You read it in every wedding. People love is when you bury notice and other people do it wrong. We've kind of lost that idea, haven't we?
Well, it's very true. It was at that point in my wedding, by the way, Foster, that my mother-in-law's glass cracked. I've never figured that out. Foster, very, very good having you. It's always an honor, and I really, really enjoy it. Let's get you back again soon. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. It's really fun to be here, Neil. Thanks for what you do.